Welcome to Conspiracy Crypto Pirates, episode 11.
11.
We made it to 11.
We did.
Our charts are going through the roof. We're blasting off in popularity. The 7 C's are starting to know who we are. How do you feel, First Matey?
All 7 of them.
All
And yes, we're talking about you when we mean 7.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to donate. No, that's awesome. We made it to 11.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll make it to 11 more.
No, I'm sure we will.
But yeah, so crypto news, some awesome, exciting information on Dogecoin.
Dogecoin?
Yeah. So going back to like November last year, they said that the Dogecoin moon launch thing was going to happen. And they said February was when it was going to launch.
Okay.
Now it's
Is it February 10th that it's supposed to launch?
No.
Okay.
But they just said February, like an open-ended date.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden a bunch of rumors came out that February 3rd is the launch window. Yeah. What is today?
The 1st?
Yes, we're recording on the 1st. So you out there will know if it's already launched or not. But that's, I don't know if I fully believe it. It'll be the 3rd. There's just rumors that it will be the 3rd. The reason why is it's not like a lot of publicity. Like I think when it's going to happen, there'll be a lot of publicity. Musk will be probably tweeting about it. But the rumor is, the 3rd, they already have like NASA approval for Kennedy Space Center to launch the specific mission.
At Kennedy?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's
a new location.
What was the other location?
Isn't that down in Florida?
Isn't Kennedy Space Center in Florida?
It might be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I might think.
Just agree. Yeah. No. Yep. Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Okay.
The launch will be part of SpaceX Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket mission that includes an IM-1/Nava-C payloads.
Oh, Nava-C payloads. Whoa.
They're the best. When you talk about payloads, yeah, we could have a whole podcast on payloads. Speaking of payloads, when is our ship gonna get unloaded with all its jewels?
When we find another matey.
Because our last one walked the plank. So we have job openings. So just contact us, Conspiracy Crypto Pirates.
We're looking for a defective aircraft carrier.
But yeah, any crypto?
Preferably not one that was from China, because those are casinos before that.
The house always wins, though. Good callback, by the way. But cryptos. Do you have any updates on your end?
So doing my little bit of research.
Yeah.
We are February 10th.
Ooh.
Guess what that is turning into? What day is February 10th according to the Chinese calendar?
Is that like the the New Year? Is that
I don't know
Chinese
if it's the New Year, but it's the what is it? The dragon.
The Year of the Dragon. Well, it must. Okay, probably then, because if it's like the Year of the Dragon.
Yeah. So if we're going along with that, like the last bull run, I think was the Year of the Bull.
Oh, that's
so now the Year of the Dragon. And so what's after the Year of the Dragon, though?
The Year of the Bear?
Snake.
Oh.
It's kind of scary. Are we going to have a lot of failures in cryptos the Year of the Snake?
Why would the snake represent in that regard?
Devious.
Okay. And what's a dragon represent in that regard?
I think
power, strength,
fire,
water, earth, metal.
Actually, it's so they had like the Year of the Dragon. It's every 12 years, and then you have the Year of the Dragon like water, earth, wood, iron. Maybe I don't know what all they are, but I know this is the wood year. So like every 48 years, I think they have 4 different
So
ones.
what do you know what those represent? Like,
I have no clue.
because wood would burn if it was a dragon. So does that mean that crypto is going to catch fire and skyrocket to the moon when
Or to the ground, if it's wood.
But yeah, that's interesting that you said the 10th. Like maybe the Doge 1 launch will be on the 10th. But even the 10th seems like if it truly was happening, I feel like there would be already some rhetoric coming out like it's happening, you know? Because I mean, you definitely want some build up for that event. But yeah, Year of the Dragon. That'd be. You can tell us, comment below what the Year of the Dragon means.
We need help.
Yes, lots of help. But speaking of dragons, did you know that cats are the only mammal with slitted eyes?
Okay. It's a good thing they don't have feathers.
Like you know, like slitted. They're like
yeah, like a reptile.
yeah, because that's
They
the
came from a snake.
only yes. And then
Why do we have them as pet
well that's
in our homes?
So that's where it goes back to like ancient Egypt. The Egyptians seemed very interested in cats, and then you know there's like sphinxes or like half animal, half people. So maybe the ancient Egyptians were actually like doing modifications to DNA, humans to cats. You know, like messing with genomes. And like created the cat, with the slitted eyes. And then funny thing is, what do cats do?
They hiss.
What do snakes do?
They hiss.
There you go.
I'm liking this more and more.
But like tigers, like all the other cat species, they don't have slitted eyes. They just have normal.
Just house cats.
Just house cats. I knew they were evil.
I did too.
But you know,
we're going to get a lot of hate on this one.
But you know what is also interesting about cats?
No, they have tails like monkeys.
No. So crocodiles are terrified of cats.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of
everyone in Florida.
Well, it's true. So a lot of people in Florida will actually have a cat to scare off alligators and
interesting.
Stuff. Yeah.
Maybe they're shop closed.
But just open your mouth and chomp. Problem solved. But yeah, I mean, cats' reaction speeds are insane. Like, I think a cobra can like strike at a cat and it can't.
Yeah, it just slaps it away.
Yeah, just like moves out. Like I saw the reaction time to a cat and it was insane. Like fractions of a millisecond.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway, cat information right there.
Okay, so if I move to Florida,
get a cat.
We're getting a cat, and it's an outside cat only.
Yes. But going back to cryptos, I've been just keeping an eye on the market, and what's kind of interesting is it honestly has done nothing for the last like month. It's been pretty consistent. It goes up a little bit and then back down. Bitcoin's hovering.
It's actually a really good time to buy. I'm thinking about buying some more myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it is a good time because it's shaken out. Like it's gone up a little bit, but they've shaken out a lot of the wusses in the market.
Okay.
And
only has the diamond hands left.
Right. And I mean, there could be a little bit more volatility as far as on the downside over the next month or so, but I think we're right around the corner to things starting to get interesting.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Me too.
Got a couple more months. I've been keep on saying it mentally in my mind.
I know.
But like I told you earlier before, it's just like, I was like, I only got a year left till the bull run starts. And I'm like, wait a minute, we got a whole year of bull run cycle to go through. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, so then it's like another year on top of that of waiting. But you hope at least that part of the waiting will be fun and exciting because you'll just be watching it go up versus like...
Yeah, I'm watching it go up as I'm working, being like, do I quit? Do I quit? Do I quit?
Oh man, but yeah,
And then I don't sell in time. I'm still working.
I know,
I'm still working.
right? Oh man, any more crypto information or news?
Shoot, I was not maybe per se crypto, but the Federal Reserve came out with their interest rates
Yeah,
going up and down.
tell me more about that, because I've heard very little bit. I've been doing a lot of other stuff. Go for it.
Gotta adjust my head.
So to preface the story, the end of 2023, I think I heard that the Federal Reserve was talking about lowering interest rates during 2024. And then I know they came out and had a conference and talked about it. And then, go ahead, tell me. What did they say?
So, pretty much from my understanding is that they came out and said, we're going to hold the line, we're going to stay strong, we might drop it a little bit.
Okay.
But the Federal Reserve has been saying everything it can say to kind of keep the people where they want them. They've been acting strong, which has been working, luckily. Yeah. But the interesting thing is that it might be coming down because the Treasury is pretty much in a battle with the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve is kind of putting out their interest rates. The Treasury keeps on printing more and more money. And so, actually, no, I think it's the bonds.
Okay. Is the Treasury in charge of the bonds?
I think so.
Okay.
And so they are going, so we have high interest rates. Mm-hmm. If we lock in the high interest rates, then we are paying an arm and a leg. Pretty much, I think we're paying more in interest than our military has a budget for.
Wow.
So that's how much interest we're paying for. So if we stopped all of our military spending, that still wouldn't even pay for our interest that we're paying.
Wow.
Do you know when the last time was that we had our debt was going down?
Woodrow Wilson.
No, Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I was actually kind of surprised when I heard that. Bill Clinton was the last one to actually have a negative. And at the rate that we were going, it would have taken us 15 years to get out of debt.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh my goodness.
And then what? We've been Bush, Obama, so that's 16. So if we would have kept at the same rate as Bush and Obama, as we did with Bill Clinton, we would have been done. Free and clear.
Wow.
But insane. People don't get elected that way.
Man, that's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were that close.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if we keep this up, like inflation, it's going to be easier to pay off our debts in the past. Mm-hmm. But
I see.
We're running into a spot that we might be switching over to a crypto or a CBDC to kind of fund our economy.
Right. But I find it weird that the Federal Reserve and what did you say the other one was?
The Treasury.
The Treasury would be at odds with each other. Mm-hmm. I would think they'd be on the same page, like whether they're doing a CBDC or whatever it is. You'd think those two entities would be like hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Like I honestly didn't really even know they weren't lockstep with each other.
Right. I mean, the two different people in charge of those are kind of like, I want it this way and I want it this way. Mm-hmm. Where if I think the Treasury might just be the presidential appointed, where the Fed is kind of the banks put somebody in charge, and then the government also has someone they put in, and so you can't always change it to the way that you want it to go.
Interesting.
But the Treasury, I don't know how the Treasury works, so it might be more the president just puts in that person.
Huh.
And I think that's the person that takes out the loans with the bonds and all that kind of stuff. But if we're putting out long-term bonds right now with a high interest rate, then we're going to be paying off a lot of money. And so I think what they're trying to do is have a high interest rate, lock in some high interest rate, forcing, pretty much saying, hey, we're going to do long-term bonds and we're going to buy a lot of them.
Who's we?
The Treasury.
So the Treasury is going to buy their own bonds?
Yeah. No, they're going to buy other people's bonds. And then the Fed is going to need to lower their rates so they can buy those bonds. Or we're just going to be paying an arm and a leg in interest.
Right, because
it's not going to be sustainable.
That was a chicken and egg problem that I knew they had with raising rates. I knew when they raise rates, well, their own payment to pay off debts themselves is going up.
Right.
And so, like, at the same time, it was like, okay, they don't want to do that, but they want to do that to get, inflation or whatever under control. Mm-hmm. But that's an interesting perspective that you just brought up, that they would change it. Raise it, lower it, buy it, sell it.
Right.
Which it wouldn't surprise me. I mean...
Yeah, but if we lower the interest rates, what does that do to the economy?
Lower the interest rates, it makes the economy go boom.
It does, and it's a form of inflation that the government doesn't necessarily get, if that makes sense. So
but the more the economy is booming, the more taxes are being paid.
No, that's Reagan economics right there. Oh. We don't do that anymore.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But if you raise the interest rates, so loans are made out of thin air, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so if I go to get a loan on my house, if I go to get a loan on my house at a low interest rate, that means I can afford a higher loan on the house, and I'm basing that off of my payments. And so that then puts more money into the economy because I just pulled out, say, $200,000 on that house that the other person bought it for $200. I bought it for $400. And so now there's a bunch of money that's created out of thin air that goes into the pockets of the people.
Right.
Where if you print a lot of money, then that goes into the pockets of the government. And then they spend that on all these programs. And right now, most of the money being spent on the programs is defense programs or military programs, weapon programs that we're all shipping to everywhere. And talking about that, didn't we, right before the Gaza, what was that? The missiles? Yeah, the Gaza-Israel conflict.
Yeah.
They shot like 1,000 rockets or something like that over into Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Israel has the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
I think we sent over to Iraq, not Iran, sent over to Iran $1 billion. It might have been 100 million or something. We sent a lot of money over there. Then a couple weeks later, their ally, Gaza, shoots 1,000 rockets over into Israel. Israel then has the Iron Dome, shoots most of them down, but they didn't plan they, for some odd reason, didn't see the attack coming. Yeah. Which was kind of odd.
Yeah.
That their defenses were down that low.
I feel like there's a lot of missing links to all that hasn't been shown or isn't being shown. Yeah. Yeah. Which in that regard, with all those rockets being shot, and then all the Iron Dome rockets being shot, then whoever makes all the rockets is making a whole lot of money.
Right.
Which,
and then all the ammo and new technology and old technology that we're shipping over to Ukraine. Pretty much we're just like, we've been storing this for 30 years. Please take it.
That's crazy. Well, speaking of... Oh, go ahead.
I mean, to me, that's a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time.
Right.
Like, I wish we would just say, hey, let's just put that into a big warehouse or wherever, just store it.
Yeah.
And then let's go replenish what we have.
Right.
And then if we need, we can call upon the old ones. But the American people like, oh no, we can't do that.
Which is crazy.
And so we'd rather start a war to justify us building new weapons. I'd rather just build new weapons.
Do you remember the program they had where they would blow up bombs? I mean, you could hear them from here.
Was that over when we left Afghanistan?
No. I just remember as a kid.
Oh, no. We didn't. We left everything. My bad.
That's right. No, I just remember as a kid, there was, I guess, some military base. It was far away. It was like they would decommission bombs, but they would blow them up.
That's cool.
And like if you were quiet enough during the day, you could hear boom, 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 like all day long.
Wow.
And I was just like, you sparked my memory of that, and I'm like, do they still do that?
Probably.
Yeah. But like in the same spot, because I guess I just haven't sat still and listened for bombs blowing
Where
up.
are you at? Arizona, Area 51?
No. But that's interesting. And talking about the defense contractors and like Lockheed Martin, one time I was actually curious and like doing a little bit of research on what's not nuclear reactors. What's like the better one? Nuclear is it fission?
Fusion or
fusion? Fusion.
Okay. I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah, and I got down a rabbit hole just like looking at videos about nuclear fusion, and I came across this one, and it was from Lockheed Martin, and it was like some head engineer, and he was talking about their fusion project.
Okay.
I mean, if it's on YouTube, then it must not be that classified.
Secret,
or like the way he was talking about it was at a top level. It wasn't like down to the nitty gritty. But he was just talking about how like their goal was to create fusion and then like make it small enough where it would be in like semi truck trailer size.
Oh wow.
And he was basically saying, he gave a timeline, and the timeline, he's like, okay, so probably in the next 12 years, it's funny, it was very specific, like 12 years, they would probably have fusion technology. And he's like, first equipment or whatever that will have it and utilize it, you probably won't know about, but it will be in military equipment, like aircraft and so forth.
Aircraft?
Yeah, aircraft.
Like constant, like it doesn't need a set down type of?
He didn't go into details
That
on
would
what
be
kind,
cool.
but you kind of wonder with all the UFO stuff and all that. But okay, so he's like aircraft and other military devices, and then he was like, and then how many? It was like 8 or 10 years later, it would go from that to you might start seeing it in society, maybe like an announcement like, oh, we are creating a power plant or something like that. And then 10 years after that, it's more mainstream. Multiple countries have like fusion power plants.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I looked down at the date of the video. It was 12 years ago. And I was like, and this was like a year ago or two that I watched this. And I was like, I was watching it.
A year or two ago is when all Congress and all them were talking about UFOs and aliens and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. And I just think it's funny. Like, I was watching it and I thought this was recorded like 6 months ago or whatever. And I looked down and it was recorded 12 years ago. And he's talking about 12 years from now, we'll have like military equipment with it. And I'm like, no freaking way. Like, do we have fusion? Like, it would not surprise me if we actually have fusion technology. And like back in, I think last year, supposedly there was, and I think it was like Southern California. Anyway, there's this big deal that they did their first fusion reaction, but it was like a public, like
the first one, sure.
Yeah, it was like a UCLA did it, or some prestigious college type organization like did this first one, and then I'm like, I think Lockheed Martin's been doing it for a long time. But then again, it would also explain a lot of these sightings that people are seeing. So yeah, in my mind, I think they've got some pretty cool stuff.
I bet they do.
Like beyond what we know about. But yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I know we have nuclear, is it fission that we have in like the aircraft carriers and in the nuclear reactors?
Yeah.
The public ones that we have today that were made in like the 60s or something like that.
Right. Which is 60s. I mean,
yeah, that's what 50 40 60 years.
And you're telling me in the last 60 years we've done nothing with nuclear testing technology.
With all the military technology that we have. I know China has been working on a nuclear battery.
Oh, really?
That they want to put into different specific items.
How'd that work?
Do I look like a Lockheed Martin?
Actually, when you mention it. Do you think we could get a remodel?
I'm on the Berkeley campus. But America, we've been making nuclear batteries for a long time.
We have?
We have. Do you know what we put them in?
Nuclear battery, okay.
We put them into a health.
And into a health
device.
I was thinking when you said nuclear battery, I'm thinking like something massive, like a power plant battery thing, to turn on, like reboot a generator or something. A health device.
Yeah.
Like one of those big like MRI machine things.
Nope.
That, like takes up.
I mean, it might, but no. I mean, you can plug those in.
Okay.
Just think of something that you want that's you can't plug in.
Something that I want that I can't plug in.
That people carry around with them all the time.
A pacemaker?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually surprised you got that.
Yeah.
So we put them into pacemakers.
Okay.
And if you really think about it, what does a pacemaker do?
It like zaps the heart into...
Yeah, it zaps the heart to start beating again.
Yeah.
So your heart stops. It's like... Bzz. And... are we running that with a AAA battery? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty big.
Like, you just, oh, wait, hold on. Let me take this out every 6 months to put it back in.
Or maybe it chirps like a fire alarm. Actually, wouldn't surprise me if it did.
Talking about fire alarms.
Yeah.
My fire alarms started chirping last night.
They always chirp at night. Like they.
Well, that's when I'm only home anyway.
Well, yeah. But I was just thinking, it always, for me, whenever it starts chirping, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It'll start chirping.
Yeah.
And it.
Luckily, I was watching the show, working on a little edit.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I don't want to get up. And it's not like it chirps every half an hour. It's like every 5 minutes.
Oh, man.
Like right when you just start settling down, you're like, okay.
What's crazy is where my fire alarms are in my house. Mm-hmm. It's always at the part, like, you know, I have different parts of the house with raised ceilings.
Oh.
And that's where it's at. So, like,
point.
If it's in the middle of the night, you literally have to go out to the garage, get the 8-foot ladder, bring it in, and even that is precarious.
You're standing on your tippy toes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, it makes sense that it would be up there because the smoke would go up.
Yeah.
But
it's just inconvenient in the fact of 2 o'clock in the morning.
I wonder how many lives those fire alarms have saved versus has killed with people on the middle of the night on the ladder just
That's hilarious. But
shut your trap hole and let me tell you a tale.
That wasn't creepy.
I had that one planned. I was trying to find the perfect opportune moment. What do you know about old world buildings?
Most of them probably don't exist today.
All right. So we've talked about Tartaria a little bit, right? and then mud flood. So it kind of relates to Tartaria in the fact of like Tartaria, from my understanding, is like a time of like the world, like ancient time, but where they had sophisticated technology to some extent to be able to like, you know, make structures and more than what you think about in old world. There is a house. Have you heard of the Palmer House?
No.
So the Palmer House is in Chicago, Illinois area. And it is this, they call it the Palmer House. It was originally built, and I believe it was 1970. And it was like a hotel.
Okay.
It's this massive, like, beautiful house. Like, made of, or hotel. My bad. Not a house.
Oh.
So it's a massive hotel made...
The Palmer Hotel.
Yeah. And
you know why it's called a Palmer?
Why?
Because I'm missing one.
You're missing a palm. I was
over
wondering
there.
what you were doing with your hand back there. I'm like, what? Is he fixing a light?
Really? You're making fun of this.
That is great. I love it. So the Palmer Hotel. It was given to the owner.
I didn't even sell it?
No.
Just given away.
So this is part of the whole mystery
Okay.
to it.
Continue. Sorry. I don't know why he's laughing. He just... I got something.
Yeah, I know. So the Palmer Hotel was given to the owner. I want to say Mr. Palmer, but I don't think that was his name. It was given to the owner as a...
By Mr. Palmer. Not to Mr. Palmer.
I'm telling the story.
Oh, my bad.
No, it was given as a wedding present. This massive hotel. And so that's part of the weirdness to this hotel. And then this hotel, so let me back up. It was given to him in 1970. It was built in like 18 months.
Okay, not bad.
So that's part of like the mystery of like how on earth could people from the 1800s build this like beautiful like art sculptures. You know, go to Washington D.C. and there's like the ornateness of everything. Like there's curves and pillars. It's just beautiful rock. And they're like trying to figure out like, okay, how could they build this in 18 months with horses, buggies, mules, whatnot?
Okay.
So then the Chicago fire happens in 1871.
Okay.
It supposedly burns the hotel down along with the rest of the city.
Yeah, that was a big fire.
So, and I want to go into more details with that. There's rumors that wasn't the case. Like it wasn't just like kicked over by a cow. Betsy's cow knocked over a lantern and burned it down.
You're saying it was more like Rome.
Don't know. What was Rome?
When Nero burnt it down to build it back in his own image.
More like that.
Yeah, okay.
So it's rumored that it was actually blown up. Specifically this...
So you're talking kind of like Maui.
Yeah. Specifically this hotel looks like it was blown up because they actually have pictures and like that you can look at like evidence of like how it blew up, look at buildings that blew up in Germany during the war, and it looks very similar. So in 70 the Palmer Hotel was rebuilt again in 1873.
Okay.
So 2 years, not even 2 years after the destruction and the fire, supposedly. But, I mean, this is giant rubble rock. So they would have to, and it was built on the same site, same exact area. So they had to clear out all the rubble. And, like, this thing is a massive, it's basically a castle without being a castle, like, structure.
That is cool.
And somehow, in 18 months, they cleared the rubble.
Okay.
And rebuilt the same at same caliber building. It looks the same.
Well, if you already have the stones there, you have the stones there.
Yeah, but it was destroyed. Like the pictures of the destruction, if it was that building, there was nothing, like it was rubble. Like there's,
Interesting.
it wasn't stone to rebuild. Like,
Okay. So what was in it?
I'm not done.
You're not done. Okay.
So then after that, it supposedly burned down again.
And they keep building this thing?
And they rebuilt the thing again in a year's time. So they rebuilt this thing 3 times.
I guess
all in a
time's
year.
the charm.
But so the whole crazy thing is in the 1870s they had horses, buggies, and mules.
Okay.
And not that they couldn't create this beautiful thing. Like
Egyptians had the Jews.
Well, but I'm saying like in Europe, some of those beautiful like churches and stuff, it would take them hundreds of years to actually build the whole thing out.
Did it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you have one artist laying on his back painting the entire ceiling, then maybe.
But like like in those churches, everything's just intricate and it's massive, and their technology wasn't, they didn't just have cranes to do stuff and lift stuff. So basically, the long and the short of the story of this is, how did they build this thing within 2 years? In some of these cases, because they built it 3 times, like a year, 18 months, as well as in those cases clear the rubble. Like when the trade centers went down, it took I think 18 months to 2 years to clear the site before they could
blow it up and everything goes out. Then it's relatively easy to put everything back in.
Yeah, but you have to clear it, grade it, line it.
Yeah.
So anyway. So
if you have enough money, you can do a lot. If you don't have any restrictions, back then they didn't have any restrictions.
That is true. But when you have horses and buggies to haul sandstone and granite around, it takes a bit. And Chicago winters are very, very fierce.
Maybe that's how they got all the stone there.
Why?
Sliding them on the ice.
Maybe. But basically they were just saying they wouldn't be able to work as efficiently in the winter time or for as long. So it's incredible that they could do it in perfect weather in 18 months. But okay, so there's that. There's also this another building like in Chicago that is like a music hall, symphony, all that. It's this massive thing. Same story with that. Supposedly that was built in like a year's time, and it's basically beautiful architecture, just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And there was like these builders. So there's different engineers. So you can dive down into each of the people that like did the construction of these websites of these buildings, and they all kind of had connections to Masonic lodges, and then
the Masons, of course.
Yeah.
You grab all the Masons together and wonder how fast they can build something. That's how fast.
But there was mystery behind it. One of the builders supposedly had this castle, owned a castle, like what you think of a castle.
Yeah.
And you look at pictures of it and it looks ancient. And they would literally build the thing, and in 60 years they tore it down. And a lot of these other buildings that I have written down here, they built them, and these aren't just little buildings. These are massive, grand, gorgeous buildings that they would build, and they would be around. There was one that was around for 30 years or 37 years. They tore it down.
That's it?
Yeah.
37 years.
So the mystery behind this is basically these old world buildings. Were they there before, basically? And then these elites, he was giving it to him for his wedding present or whatever.
Okay.
These elites were given these buildings to occupy or whatever. And then they wanted to basically eradicate that history of being older than...
Then why would they build it back 3 times?
Well, the story for that building is it never burned down or never blew up. So like now in your mind, you're like, yeah, this is a newer building. Because it was built in 1870. It wasn't built in...
Okay. So it took them a year and a half to scrub all the black smoke off
Yeah.
of it.
But maybe if it ever burned down. So like they could have had shown pictures of another building over here. There's also rumors that because of the way the times, that they actually only destroyed one building to cover up all of them.
Okay.
Because like, you know, there's no social media. It's not like if you're a carpenter in the other town, you don't know anything about this building over here. Like,
Yeah.
and on the other side of the United States for that matter. So if you destroy one, you can kind of create this facade that...
All of them are destroyed?
Yes, yeah. So I think it's interesting. I think the timeline, I don't know about to the whole extent of everything, but I think the timeline is interesting. Like, you look at these buildings, it would take longer than that to build today. And that's not even just because of permitting and everything. It's like, these are intricate rock stone buildings. And the one, what I call it, the Palmer House was supposedly built as fireproof.
Okay. Makes sense if it was made out of stone.
And burned down 3 times.
And burned down 3 times.
Or 2 times, because they built it.
Yeah. Well, here's a theory. Maybe they're taking all these castles and things they built in the past, and maybe they're shipping them over to other locations and reusing the stones. But these stones are magic stones, and they can hum them to be light as a feather, and they can go off.
Good theory.
Okay.
We'll go with that one.
Right.
I agree.
I've just been looking for the rum all day long.
At least
But no, there has been people that have like bought a castle over in Europe and then brought it over to the United States.
how do they do that? Like brick by brick? Or rock by rock?
That's really the only way you could.
I mean, you would have to... I can't even imagine the expense, for one, but I can't even imagine the labor to do that. Like, to destruct it, I mean, they must be like, rock 2 goes here, and like have pictures, and then to reconstruct it.
Right.
Like, honestly, I don't even know how you do that.
I mean, what I would do is I would go down with like kind of a waxy chalk type of a thing and just number every single one of them. And that you could wipe off, but it wouldn't come off easily with like rain or something like that. But so have that. Then take a high definition picture of it.
Yeah, where you can see
And then
it.
just go like 1 through 10 or 1 through 33, and then you go up or whatever.
But even when you do that, and then you're taking apart, putting it in a pile, and then the truck or whatever comes, and you put all those rocks into the truck, and then that truck goes to the shipping yard, and then the ship throws... Like, I just imagine the
You would
rocks...
have to put them into crates.
Each individual rock is in a crate with a number.
Yeah. Well, not one crate for one rock. It depends on how big it is. But if you have regular, like, brick size or whatever, then you would stack them all into a crate, and then the crate would have some sort of pulley system or something, some crane or whatever to lift it up into the ship.
I don't even understand why you would want to do that.
Yeah, especially...
Like, if you like that castle, like, you're like, I love that castle. Like, go pay somebody to, like, create the plans for it or draw it up, and then go rebuild it over here. Like, who cares if it's the same rocks?
And then have, like, 12-inch thick concrete reinforced steel and all that, so it can withstand a bomb, maybe?
Yeah.
This one is just going to crumple.
Yeah, at this point, it would be a better built castle. And it would be a lot
You'd
cheaper.
put new glue on it with the mortar.
Yeah, but I just mean like you said with the concrete. And you didn't have to pay for somebody to deconstruct that one, shipping all that heavy material over. You can just use the current material.
Well, when you have so much money, you're just trying to figure out things. You've already bought your Lamborghini and Ferrari and your jet, and you're like, I want a house from Europe now.
I don't know.
It's not my thing.
I know, it's just weird to me. Like, I don't know how it would be anybody's thing, because it's like, it just doesn't make sense. Because even if
some people love history.
Yeah, but to me, I feel like it wouldn't feel like the same historical house because it moved areas. Like, it's a historical place right where it's at versus like, oh, I moved that house over here, and be like, yeah, it's his house, but it's not in the right place. Like back in the Midwest, there's this house that was like Jesse James's house, and like where he got shot or something. But they literally put that house on a truck and moved it like across state and put it in this area. And it's like, you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, it's his house, but it's not at the spot. So like, you're like,
so if you buy a historical book, then would you, but it's not in the original library, in the original house, at the original location.
A book
like, how far do you go with that?
Yeah, but I feel like a book is never meant to be stationary.
Okay.
Like, if it's a stationary item, then sure.
Just like that ship over there.
That moves, though. It sails the 7 seas.
Oh. Okay.
We're going to Antarctica next week if you want to join. See how far we get. That is such an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Talking about Antarctic, when I was over in Norway, one of my family members got talking to this guy, and he owned a bunch of these ships that were going over to the oil fields and all that. And he's like, yeah, I'm here to speed up the project that they're working on, because I have like a couple of these ships are going to the Antarctic.
For what?
I don't know. If I was talking to him, I'd probably been like, what are you doing over in the Antarctic?
Who's talking to him?
This Australian guy, one of my family members.
Oh, man.
And it was an Australian, too.
What kind of ships were they? Just like cargo ships?
No. More work ships.
Okay.
But like big, huge ones that work on oil.
Wells.
Well, yeah. Oil rigs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I love that you just itched your leg with your hook. Like, naturally.
It's a little extension.
That's hilarious.
I need to sharpen it so I can...
Yes. Are dinosaurs real?
So, interesting thing you bring that up. So, my sister was talking to my grandpa.
Okay.
My grandpa was like, I think dinosaurs are just whales that they've attached a couple different bones to make it look
Like
the
a
way
big
they want
creature.
it. Yeah, like a whale that was brought up on shore like a flood event.
Can't do quotation.
I can't, like...
Yeah. Interesting.
And so I thought that was interesting because, I mean, I guess he's seen like whale ones, and then it would be like, I could picture it being the same, and then all you have to do is rearrange it a little bit, throw a couple bones out or whatever.
Yeah, or mix a couple other animal bones.
And then have a little sharp arm. And then call it good.
Yeah.
And then maybe throw some big legs onto it.
Yeah, could be. Well, I mean, we know dragons are real, or were real. And I personally wonder if that's pretty much what dinosaurs are.
You want to know why dragons weren't allowed on Noah's Ark?
Why?
Because they would catch on fire.
Because it's the year of the dragon that's wood?
That's wood, yeah. They'd catch it on fire.
Oh, man. No, but, like, besides, like, in the Bible, Job talked about, what was the creature's name? Anyway, sounded very dragon-like.
And then you have the Chinese with the Year of the Dragon. You have
Every culture.
Europeans.
Yep.
I don't know if Native Americans.
I think they did. I want to say they did.
Okay. That'd be actually interesting to kind of get down into those stories.
Yeah. And even Tartaria. Going back to Tartaria. So Tartaria was actually where they think Tartaria was, like the civilization, was in Russia. And what was it? What was the not the Russian flag? What was it for Russia? Like it just changed recently. It was like Gorbachev tear down that wall. Soviet Union?
The Soviet Union?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
their flag beforehand.
So am I making fun of you with my
Yes.
hook? Okay.
So
fine,
their flag before like the Russian flag that we know today, which is just like 3 colors, right? Their flag had a guy on a horse that was like slaying a dragon. And Tartaria's like logo or flag or whatever, or their symbol was like a dragon was on it. And it very much looks like the current Russian society took over Tartaria, like conquered them.
Okay.
And it almost like depicts it from the flag. Even though Tartaria is very it's like Atlantis, where like it's very not thought of as a real place. Like in society today, they don't think of it as like a real thing.
Okay.
But it's kind of like in lore or culture, they think it is real, like Atlantis. And that's why I think it's very fascinating. Is like it seems like there's a lot of evidence to believe that there was something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah. So is that Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife? That's Melania, right? Or is that his daughter?
I always mix them up. Yeah.
But okay, so Trump's wife, she's supposedly from Russia.
Yeah.
Supposedly she's from the
Tartarians.
maybe. So she's from the culture so the Soviet Union. What was Stalin?
Okay.
Stalin took over the ruling class
Okay.
of Russia.
Okay.
He then pretty much killed all the ruling class, the royal family.
Yeah.
And there was like only a few left.
Oh wow.
And supposedly she's part of that.
Tartarian.
Maybe she's the last standing Tartarian.
Ooh. You heard it here, folks. Tartarian.
All right. I wonder if that's going to go on fire.
So dinosaurs. So going back to the dinosaurs.
Yes.
So the question is, are dinosaurs real? And this is referring to a secret CIA base called Unit 6 in Peru, hidden in the forest. So there's a lot of actually facts. I'll be reading some of it. The base has been a subject of conspiracy theory for decades, with claims of extraterrestrial involvement.
Sure, it's just not the Nazis over there trying to raid Peru.
There you go. So there's a guy named Gustavo from... right? Everybody named Gustavo. So he...
Gestapo, you said?
Gustavo.
Oh, the Spanish version of Gestapo.
Yes.
Okay.
His name is Gustavo Silva from Ecuador, dedicated to investigating the base in 2017, so fairly recently.
Yeah.
After conducting research, he ventured into the base wearing a fake CIA vest and badge. Gustavo claimed to find not extraterrestrial, but dinosaurs over 30 feet tall.
Dead or alive?
Alive.
Oh, wow. Were they wanted?
So, Gustavo recorded a short video posted it online, but security services took it down quickly. Gustavo went missing a few days later, which shocker.
Okay.
Probably Men in Black. And then, so it raised the question of whether dinosaurs are real. And supposedly on his recording, he recorded some, like, dinosaurs.
Are they real, or are they just modified creatures in the lab?
Don't know. Or is it...
Is that how we got elephants?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Well, like, this year, they're creating a, what's the elephant with
The tusk?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
So they're creating a woolly mammoth this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they got
Not a dragon of the year of the dragon. You're going with the woolly mammoth.
right.
Really, you chose a slow animal versus something that can spit fire and fly. The people choosing these things.
So part of it was because of what they had. So for them to actually able to do this, they actually were able to find enough DNA, like soft tissue.
Oh, okay.
Of the woolly mammoth, like in like tusks and like in archaeologists digging, but a lot of these digs were I think in like north Russia and the North Pole area.
Watch, we're going to miss something, and they're going to have tusks for legs. Just like, oops, we did something wrong on that one.
So basically, before this, they actually had like 99% of what they needed. They still needed like to like complete the genome or whatever it is. And so they kept like doing expeditions and like going to this tundra area.
Okay.
Where it's all ice basically. And they've found in this area tons of woolly mammoth tusks and everything. And the ice like preserves.
Yeah, the freezing, the cold slows down everything.
Yeah, incredibly. And I guess they finally got all of the genomes that they need.
Wow.
To do it. And
good thing for global warming.
Yeah. And then so they're actually going to grow the woolly mammoth inside a elephant.
Oh, wow.
So it's like close enough.
Hopefully big enough.
Yeah, ancestral. So yeah, this year we should have the first woolly mammoth.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
So we only have enough for one?
Well, I think it's more of, I think they've decoded the
okay, so
thing.
they can produce as many as they want now?
I'm assuming.
We should win some wars now, so if we have enough woolly mammoths.
Yeah, ride them. But yeah, that's super interesting. Like, did you know that you can get animals cloned these days?
No.
Like, so when people do this, like if they have a dog and they like love that dog and the dog dies, they can go get it cloned, like take DNA from it and go clone it for like $10,000.
That's not much.
I know. Like, I mean, 10 grand is a lot, but as like for something like
Some
that,
people spend more on the medical bills for their animals than that.
yeah. And
does it come with the memory too?
the memory, you have to retrain it.
Oh man,
You're like, I spent thousands in training for this animal, and I have to do it again. I thought cloning it would,
right?
That would be cool. It might be worth it, but yeah,
that's what Elon Musk is working on with the
Cloning?
Neuralink.
Did you hear about that?
I guess not.
I don't know much about it because it just happened, but Neuralink, they just put it in the first human like a week ago.
Oh, I did hear about that. I'm kind of skeptical. I don't know if I like that or not.
Yeah, I like the claims what it's used for. Like it's supposed to like quadriplegics. Thank you.
I can't.
Quadriplegics. Bombing it, but like people that lost limb or be able to use their limbs. It's supposed to be able to
bypass their nervous system.
And so, like, in that regard, I'm like, that is awesome. Like, that is amazing. And then I think that's their way in. And then, like, okay, what else can we do with this thing?
Right.
Like,
not really doing much with it.
I'm going to go work at the Tesla factory now.
The robots they're working on.
Yeah.
That looks so much like humans. It's so unbelievable.
You're like, for some reason, I feel like I have dreams that I work a night shift at Tesla factory.
Right? And I bought myself a Tesla robot and it cleans my house. I'm always tired when I wake up, though.
What a brilliant plan that would be. Have you heard of the Doomsday fish? Or also called the Oar Fish?
Doomsday Oar Fish? No, I have not.
So it's like a very deep sea fish, like never comes to the surface.
Okay.
And it's very common in Japanese or Japan area, and it basically, legend has it that it only comes to surface when a catastrophe is going to happen or catastrophe is looming.
Interesting.
And almost every time reported events of seeing these oarfish come up, there's shortly a catastrophe that happens.
Like a tsunami or something like that?
Yeah, or earthquakes or whatever. So 5 months ago, oarfishes were seen. And then venture to like a month ago, they were rocked with earthquakes in Japan.
I didn't even hear about those.
I don't know if there's any death tolls or anything, but it's I think fairly common in that area for earthquakes. So hopefully they were somewhat prepared for it in that regard.
They designed for it.
Yeah, but it's just very interesting because what I thought was funny was I heard somebody talking about it 5 months ago. Like, oh, the oarfish came up.
Yeah.
And like telling the story, what they do and everything. And then 5 months later, I hear about the tsunamis, or not tsunamis, earthquakes that happened there.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that is crazy. And then somebody talked about basically reiterating that story. I'm like, yeah, that's right. and like, I remember them talking about it 5 months before. And it's just kind of interesting. Nature is crazy. And it's kind of funny, like, why would a fish do that? Like, I don't know, maybe the tectonic plates down there are shifting, and you know how like in water sound is like amplified and so forth. I don't know, does it just bug them and they come to the surface to get away from, the loud noise?
Well, I know if you throw, like, people have done tests where they like tested the like pressure that is created by like a hand grenade, and they do it in air, and air dispenses of it really quickly, where water really extends it. Like, if you jump into a pool to get away from a hand grenade and the grenade goes into the pool, it pretty much will bring you up to the surface immediately.
Like the wave?
No, the compression will get into your lungs. The pressure of it, since your lungs can compress more than the water. And so you're pretty much going to be out of air instantly.
Wow.
So
maybe
like if you throw like dynamite into a pond or a river or something like that,
right,
the fish will come up.
Oh, so
don't do that at home, by the way.
So if you're having like earthquakes or whatever, there could be pressure down there.
Yeah.
Or explosions or natural, whatever.
Yeah.
Or even volcanic activity. Interesting. I mean, that explanation makes sense.
I mean, I'm a great scientist.
You are such a scientist.
I was part of the Little Mammoth team. They kicked me off after I suggested throwing a grenade to see if it would help.
I can't even go on to the next topic. So, do you know when you should buy books? Like the date of a book?
I'm confused by the question.
So, okay. So, you should buy a book from the 1920s or older.
Why?
Because it is rumored that basically about the 1920s times was when basically books were starting to be censored and covered up. So like the periodic table from before 1920s looked very different than...
Well, haven't we added to it?
Yes, we've added to it, but there was several
elements that we've taken off?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then there's also several other things, just like culturally, maps, other topics that were prevalent before and during 1920 and then taken off. A lot of it, the Rockefellers were actually attached to the kind of erasal of these topics.
Well, they were really big into the educational system too.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. And pretty much creating the educational system to create factory workers. That's why you have a bell in school and a bell in the factory. It's and creating compliant people. We've actually gone back all the way over to Europe to kind of create that system.
Right. Removal of periodic table aimed to shape public perception, preventing belief in certain ideas, suggest that the Rockefellers and efforts to eliminate educational content related to the fifth element and quantum concepts. The removal of these materials coincides with the establish of new narrative.
Like fossil oils that aren't
fossil fuels. Well, speaking of fossil fuels, they've...
Fossil oil.
Fossil oil. Oh, Rockefeller oil. No, but speaking of fossil fuels, they just did like some scan of like a moon of, I don't know, Jupiter or one of those planets, and they have found fossil fuels.
They must have had dinosaurs too.
Well, that was the thing. Somebody was like, I don't think there was dinosaurs ever on that moon. And so like,
Yeah.
So fossil fuels...
Rumor, do you know why it's called fossil fuels?
I know it was attached to something with the Rockefellers trying to make it sound scarce.
Yeah, it's to create scarcity on that we only have so much of these fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And we've been finding them left and right, constantly keep finding more.
Yeah.
To be honest, it might be a natural process of the earth.
I think it is. Personally, I think it really is.
So if we do that, then we burn it, then it goes up into the air, and then it might get into another cycle going down.
Yep.
Like, is it particularly good for you as a human in the environment? I'm not the one to say that.
Right.
But to say that we're going to go burning the entire planet.
Right. I mean, you could say the same thing. I mean, there's gases that can harm you, like if you put your mouth over the tailpipe of your car, that's going to hurt you. But if you don't do that, that car can be very beneficial to you and to society. Like you could
I'm just picturing someone's mouth big enough to go around
a tailpipe of a car.
A tailpipe of a diesel.
But what I mean is even like medicines and stuff. I mean, almost all medicine will kill you if not taken in proper dosage and all that. Yeah. So like everything in moderation.
Look at the water. We're putting poison in the water, which is kind of going down the conspiracy theory, which you might want a water filter to filter those small particles out.
They're probably smaller than the filters.
Maybe not. That's why you need to get one of those like carbon
dioxide.
Carbon filters.
Go to your garage, turn on the car. Don't do that.
We definitely might get kicked off.
Oh man, looking through my topics, if we hit everything, So one last thing that is kind of interesting that I had was like the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
That is very impressive. So the Great Wall of China, the way it's constructed, it looks more of like the way that it's reinforced. It looks like it's more reinforced from the inside. Like it was more to keep people in than...
I just recently heard about that too. That was very fascinating.
Yeah.
That if you look at the Wall of China, it's to defend an invasion from China, not defend an invasion
into China. And supposedly there's ancient maps that have been found relating to Tartaria. Like the Tartarians built the wall. That's what it implies. And yeah. Other than that, I don't have a ton more details. So like the maps, so this narrative is reinforced from maps from 1603, showing the wall in its historical areas of Asia, suggests that the wall was in existence for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, going back to cryptos, there's an interesting, like I saw a little thing where someone was like, okay, these are going 10x, these are going 100x, and these are going 1000x. And I was like, okay, that's interesting to kind of like get that perspective.
Yeah.
And they had like Bitcoin and Ethereum on the 10x, and then they had like XRP and some like Dogecoin on the 100, and then they had like random ones on the 1000x.
Yeah.
And then I heard the advice from somebody that said, don't invest in the first gen technology of stuff, especially when it comes into like technology. And I was like, okay, why would that be? And I'm like, probably because you don't know what one is going to be the winner.
Yeah.
Like there's a higher chance that you're going to miss and not hit the right one. Like you might be like, oh, this technology is going to beat it. Like the VHS.
Yeah.
VHS was the inferior product to, I don't even remember what it was.
Betamax or something?
Wow. Yeah. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Betamax had a much better, higher quality, but they didn't get their product out to the people in good enough of a way to convince them, where the VHS beat Betamax, even though it was an inferior product to Betamax.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's just, as far as investing goes, that just is part of the risk. I mean, just think if...
Yeah, but you don't want to go all in on a brand new, like, so, like, there's different levels of risk, and say, hey, you know what, you might want to have your majority into safer investments.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're investing in cryptos, you might want to have your majority into the big main ones, and then you would then go, okay, now we have the medium risk, which is maybe the 100x ones, and then you have like your gaming and AI cryptos. Like, okay, those I'm going to maybe have like 10% or 20% of my holdings, all of that, into that, because there's going to be a lot that are going to fail and just blow with the wind.
For sure. Especially in the gaming space, that there's so many. Like you were talking about, it almost seems easier when you think back in the day when it was two choices, Betamax or VHS. And it's like, we got a 50-50, or you could diversify into both of them, and when one skyrockets, then at least you have that.
Yeah, you 50-50, and when it 100x's, now you turned your $1,000 into, say, $100,000.
Right.
But now you diversified, eliminating your risk in half, but you only got that from 100x. Now you went to 50x.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I think that's wise advice for sure. Like I said, in the crypto space, it's so hard with like those small tokens that like, oh, it could, 1000x. There's so many of those that I feel like each category has their cheerleaders for it. And I mean, when you watch them, you're like, oh, yeah, I see where they're coming from, and I can see where it would grow massively. And part of that growth, too, comes from, if this is a beginning project from the ground up, and say there's only 100 investors in it with $100, and they can convince 50,000 people to be like, yeah, let's try that, put 50,000. Well, those first 100 people in it are probably gonna 50x their money that they put in originally.
And then the news is going to say these people were geniuses.
Right.
And everyone else that invested after them pretty much got screwed.
Right. And so part of me is like, either with like your logic is either be very early on the bandwagon and be able to cash out that way, or hope that you are in
the right one.
I mean, it's even similar like in the .com bubble. Like, how many .com businesses were out there and went kaput? But there's also a lot that were successful, like Amazon, eBay. I mean, those are the most common ones I think about.
MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Sales. I don't know if Salesforce was that.
Probably Oracle. All of us.
Oh, yeah. That's, I think, the one I was thinking of.
So, like, those were very successful. And if you got into those in the beginning, I mean, you'd be a quadrillionaire.
And then a lot of them either went under or they sold as well.
Yeah, consolidation was huge, too. I mean, like eBay, I think at least 2 companies merged to create the eBay we know today, if not even more, came together.
Yeah.
But
well, I know PayPal. eBay bought PayPal, didn't they?
Yeah. And PayPal bought X.com.
Well, yeah. So X.com before eBay,
Yeah. And then
we already went down that rabbit
trail. But like, so like right there, that one company, that's kind of 3 of those .coms all in one.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Huh.
But.
So will there be a consolidation? Can there be a consolidation in cryptos?
Can there be a consolidation in cryptos? That is an interesting... I guess cryptos are technology. And so if you have a blockchain that you can merge, I don't know enough about blockchains to really know if you can bring in different
currencies.
Well, or not currencies, but technologies that are... I wonder if a lot of the... What is it? Patents. If you can create patents, then probably within cryptocurrencies. But I don't know if you want to really create a patent and let the whole world know exactly
how it's done.
Yeah. But, and then how would you know? Like, that's a really difficult thing to dive down into.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how that works. Because a lot of the majority of the cryptos that aren't your mainstream, they're built on the same technology. Like we talked about before, Dogecoin's back end is on Bitcoin's network. So like in that regard, if they were to consolidate, for instance, I could see where that merger could happen because they're on the same network.
Yeah, so like Ethereum would overtake, I don't even know what.
What's the other dog coin? Shiba Inu.
Okay.
Is on Ethereum and many, many others. But
yeah. That'd be interesting.
Because I've heard of consolidation in that regard, in crypto regards, but in my mind, and I think in the mind of what they were talking about, is just being gone.
Yeah, I think within consolidation, I think the bigger aspect to that, if someone has the technology you want, either you can buy it from them or you can just hire the people and you can't go in the same direction of it because you have the patents and all that. But if you don't have patents within cryptos, which I don't know, within the blockchains and all that, then you might be able to hire that person, and then because you're going to have to hire them anyways to merge it into your blockchain anyways. So it might be better just to hire them. It might not be beneficial to do that.
Which I think we're getting to the point in society where people are starting to be done building cryptocurrencies, like various ones, and starting to get to the point of like, okay, now we're going to use what we have for our stuff.
Like Ethereum went from a community-based to a centralized-based, which makes me more skeptical of Ethereum.
For sure.
I know Solana, I think it was Solana, went from centralized-based to community-based.
To decentralized? That makes sense. And wasn't Ethereum's logic behind doing that, wasn't it to like get their gas fees cheaper, or like
to be more green? So if your gas fees are cheaper, that means you're using less energy for the most part. Is kind of what controls the gas fees, to bring down the gas fees, which makes it, they would say that it's more of a green product that they have, so it's not as harmful to the environment. You're not using as many fossil fuels. Going back to the fossil fuels, are they really fossil? So it's so hard to really say one way or another on if it's better or not, and it would make it a little more faster because you don't have to check with a bunch of different people.
I think that's kind of the beauty of the whole crypto projects in general, is they have different use cases, and like you're not gonna use Bitcoin for buying a banana at the store because gas fees are high, but it serves its purpose for what it is.
But you might use a Dogecoin for that.
Exactly. So like that's kind of what I think is interesting with cryptocurrencies, is all these projects have their niche, and like if you can sign on to that niche, and like I can see that niche being useful or being the future for that product or niche, and then that's kind of what I guess gives you to buy in and the approval to be like, okay, I want to invest in it. Which is similar to like investing in companies. Like if it's a company that you resonate with and you're like, I like their product, I understand it, I see only growth in their future. I mean, that's what makes you buy a company in general. From that type of investing. But speaking of investing, have you seen what Facebook has pivoted, or Facebook Meta has pivoted on their stance?
No.
So you know how
I don't really keep track of.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, I mean, I won't say anything so it won't get censored.
So Zuckerberg changed the name from Facebook to Meta. And do you know why he did that?
So he can make it a little more broad.
So he did that because he was changing the focus of the company from the blue app that you know it today. To he really wanted to get the metaverse, like the Oculus goggles, and like just creating the world of the goggle realm.
One world.
Yes. So that's the best example to get it. So the Ready Player One world is what he was trying to create. And then he, so much so that he believed in that he changed the company to Meta. And then just recently they've changed their focus, that they are now going to be focusing on AI over the metaverse. I don't think they've scrapped the metaverse. But now their focus is on AI. And they have, you know that boat in the middle of the ocean that's floating with all the GPUs? It has like 40...
That's in the Bay of San Francisco or something like that?
I'm not sure where it's hanging out.
I thought Google had one too.
Well, but that's not theirs. But I was
Okay.
just saying that boat had like 40,000 GPUs or something on it.
Whoa.
They have like 140,000 GPUs
What?
that
They put over 100,000 more GPUs.
yeah, that they own, and that's one way that they're trying to attract talent is like
Okay.
saying like we got all this horsepower, come work for us
Yeah.
to create the next
That's very interesting. So I remember, I think it was underneath Bush that Google pretty much made, I think it was Google, pretty much had a boat that they just stuck out in the harbor with a bunch of different technology in it.
yeah.
And data storage mostly. And I think that was to say, hey, if you make regulations to regulate us, we're just going to bounce offshore. And we can do that in a day or two. So if you start talking about it, we can just pull the plug and go.
That's interesting.
Like that. And I know that a lot of the governments are talking about controlling AI, putting in a bunch of different rules, which there needs to be different rules on cryptos and AI. But if you make it so that it's not, like, just imagine if we said with cell phones that the cell phones had to be this, and this, and we put so much regulations, then another country would have been like, okay, we can develop
a cell phone.
Yeah, cell phones.
Right.
And so, and that technology, kind of like what China's doing a little bit. They're trying to take over with 5G and go into different countries and say, here's our 5G, use Huawei and use our companies and our cell phones. And they kind of try and corner them into that.
Yeah.
And once they do that, then they're kind of trapped into the China verse.
Yeah.
Instead of the America verse.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much, do you want regulation or do you want a little more freedoms?
Right.
And freedoms allows, yes, you can do bad things with freedoms, but there's also a lot of good things that you can do with freedoms.
sure.
That if you're locked into only doing one thing, that stunts the creativity and growth of companies.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Because like that barge with the 40,000 GPUs on it, that was exactly why they built it, was for AI purposes and for the purpose of not being regulated by any government. And
I actually heard that someone pretty much bought an old oil rig and is pretty much using that as their own nation state to build an AI, and supposedly they're putting like top end military equipment on it.
Wow.
So to defend from an attack.
Oh, okay.
So like say Somalian pirates or
or SEAL Team 6.
or SEAL Team 6 comes in, that they would have a fighting chance. They might not be able to defeat SEAL Team 6 with a submarine coming.
Yeah.
But if some small people tried to come on and take it over with an AK-47, that they would be able to defend themselves against that.
Wow. That's
Like, shoot, man. They're already thinking about, like, defense and the
crazy.
different AI. But if you think about it, 40,000 or 140,000 CPUs, what are the CPUs running? $1,000 each, probably?
Probably more.
Probably more. Like, you're talking a little while back with AT&T and their server rack.
Yeah.
And they're just spending, what, like $20,000 a day on a chip because they don't want to replace the rack that costs $100,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
I'm wondering I wonder if Elon Musk keeps his dojo in a rocket.
Probably. Well, and that's another benefit to having it like in the ocean is they can use like the cool ocean water to cool the system down. So I mean that's one benefit of using it. But yeah. Crazy.
Warming the oceans.
Yeah.
AI.
But yeah, I think that's all I got. Do you have any more?
I don't think so for today.
Awesome.
I think we're good.
Thanks for joining us on episode 11. Please like, comment, subscribe.
Well, thumbs up for the hook.